Okay, so it's Cat Stanley Space Demon coming at you again, and you know, I hadn't really even planned to discuss this topic because it's pretty widely reported, and as much as I tend to cover familiar ground here in terms of history on this channel, I try to do my best to be somewhat unique, and if there's a topic that a lot of people are talking about, I tend to avoid these kind of things, you know. I try to avoid watching other YouTube channels that talk about Kiss because I really don't want to be influenced by others. I really want to come at these things with my own unique perspective, and I try to do that in terms of my personality and that, not really talking about the big topics of the day, but I had to talk about this because it's fascinating. Kiss has announced a 2025 show at an event featuring ex-member. That ex-member is going to be Bruce Kulick. It's part of the Live Unmasked show, part of a 3-day Kiss Army Storms Vegas event, scheduled to take place next November at the Virgin Hotels Las Vegas, and will include a special live performance from former Kiss member Bruce Kulick, along with other special guests, activities, exclusive appearances, and more. So when I first read about this Unmasked show, I thought maybe, wow, is Tommy Thayer out? Are they going to reunite the non-makeup lineup that called it Splitsville when the band put the makeup back on in '96? But apparently, judging by this photo, Tommy's still with the group, and Kulick is just going to be a special guest. I'm thinking, I kind of thought, well, maybe this is going to be like a dress rehearsal for like maybe a Vegas residency that a lot of the older acts do. Maybe they'll focus on the 80s version of Kiss, but it seems kind of unlikely because I think most people at this point goes to a Kiss show, they expect to hear the 70s songs and, you know, those 80s tunes, a lot more complicated. Paul's voice, he had a lot more range. He was on fire back in the 80s, and he was really killing it with the vocals during that period. But it seems strange to me because I think we know at this point Paul's voice is shot. He can't sing. He relies heavily on backing tracks. We can argue whether or not while he's lip syncing. No, he's not really lip syncing. He's singing along with the pre-recorded track. But at the end of the day, he had a lot of help when he was on stage with Kiss during that end of the road tour. So you got to wonder how this is going to be set up. Will they be using a lot of backing tracks? And since Bruce Kulick's going to be involved in this thing, can we expect to hear some more songs from the 80s version of Kiss that maybe they haven't been performing during the recent makeup period, the end of the road tour? Should be interesting to find out. Like I said, I originally thought, well, maybe Tommy Thayer's out and they're going to kind of do a non-makeup deal and focus on that era. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case, but it should be interesting to see how they pull this thing off. And, you know, it could be easy for me to come on here and slam them and say, oh, more BS. You know, they said they were calling it quits, and here they are coming back, which I think is a dress rehearsal for a possible Vegas residency. That's my theory, because, you know, a lot of the older bands are out there using the backing tracks and doing the big arena shows. That's why I tend to avoid arena shows at this point. Maybe this is just going to be an intimate setting, and Paul Stanley's going to try and tough it out without backing tracks, but that seems very unlikely to me, unless somehow his voice is magically recovered. Maybe he's taken voice lessons or he's had vocal surgery. I don't know, but I thought this was interesting. I'm not going to slam the band for the sake of slamming them, but this is kind of fascinating. Could there be a Kiss residency in Vegas in the future? Personally, it doesn't affect me one way or the other because I honestly really don't care. They can go out and lip sync all they want. Doesn't bother me. I have no plans of seeing them live. I've seen them live. I've seen Paul Stanley. I've seen Ace Frehley. You know, it's solo shows and whatever. Just wanted to come in here and touch on this. You know, nothing really new to add. But that's the video, and we'll see you next time.
Who's here?